That's the Calgary Flames, rising from the dead. Welcome back, hockey fans. Welcome in if this is your first time to the channel. I'm Josh. This is the Hockey Flow, and today it's Thursday, August 18th, 2022. Man, Johnny Gaudreau leaving, Matthew Tkachuk leaving. People were calling the Calgary Flames, they were leaving them out for dead. But I tell you what, after some big moves today, I got one question for you. Are the Calgary Flames actually better post Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk? We're going to find out on another edition of Today in Hockey. But before we get to that, we got to get through Today in Hockey history, and then we got to get through headlines. And yes, it's a Calgary Flame kind of day, and as an Oiler fan, it's kind of tough, but we're going to talk about it anyway. And we got some Predator news as well, some exciting stuff, and then we're going to get into it. Our second ever question of the day. Tell you what, with these big moves that the Flames are making, I tell you what, they might just be better post Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk. We're going to take a look at some player cards, some cap-friendly numbers. We're even going to take a look at some Daily Faceoff lineups, but stick around for that. If you do enjoy the content, take a moment, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a ton. We're just getting started, but we're going to keep bringing you videos every day. Never know what the topic's going to be, so you want to make sure you never miss one. Today in hockey history, on this date, August 18th in 1994, Toronto Maple Leafs, you guys named Doug Gilmour your team captain. He became the 15th captain in team history, replacing the great Wendell Clark. All right, headlines. We kind of mentioned it, a little bit of a preview here, but Nashville Predators, you guys are up first. You're going to host the NHL Awards and the NHL Draft this coming season. First time since 2006 that both were held in the same city in the same year, so very exciting. I know Nashville always does a wonderful job hosting those sort of things. All right, Calgary Flames, you guys are the topic of the video, absolutely. You guys pulled the trigger. Nazem Kadri signs a 7-year, $7 million a year deal to play with you guys. We talked about it yesterday. Is he a good fit with the Islanders? Well, here we go. The Flames swept us off our feet. This is just one of two moves they made today. They actually did also send Sean Moynihan and a first-round pick to the Canadiens for our good friend, future considerations. All right, so with all of this in mind, with that big news today, right? Question of the day. Are the Flames actually better post Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk? I tell you what, kind of an odd question to ask, right? If you lose two superstars, your team did really well last season, but are you actually in a better position moving into this season? Let's find out, shall we? All right, so here we go. We're going to look at the past state, we're going to look at the current state, and then we're going to give you an answer. So here we go. Here's our past state. Big shout out to Hockey Reference and JFresh Hockey. Hockey Reference with the stats, hockeyreference.com. Go to, and JFresh Hockey with the team player card here. So we look at the Flames season last year, and they had an excellent season. First and foremost, that regular season, forget about the playoffs because you ran into the Oilers, but that regular season, you guys did great. First in the division, hey, got to give you kudos there. Sixth in the league, absolutely. Goals against, number 1. Goals for percentage, number 1. Power play, number 10. Man, a lot of blue on that player card. The Flames, you guys were cooking with gas last season. But, we did run into some issues in the playoffs, but if we're just looking at the regular season, I guess the big talking point, Johnny Gaudreau, Matthew Tkachuk, 1-2 in your scoring, right? 115 points, 104 points respectively. How the heck are you guys going to replace that? Well, I tell you what. I think your general manager, Brad Treliving, did an excellent job. Everyone was kind of discounting the Flames, kind of putting them down a little bit. And as an Oilers fan, that's not the end of the world usually. But I tell you what, I think the Flames have done a really good job turning Matthew Tkachuk and the whole Johnny Gaudreau situation. They got nothing for the lad. Remember that. They didn't get anything for him. But they turned Matthew Tkachuk into some really good players. And this Nazem Kadri signing, I think, is really going to have a positive impact. But can you replace your top 2 scorers, especially when they're 100-point scorers? And we also look at our attendee stats. Jacob Markstrom had an excellent regular season. Again, was a little shaky in the postseason, but if he can get back to that regular season form for them, I tell you what, Oilers fans, we have to be a little worried, absolutely. But can he bounce back? That's the big question moving into this season in the back. And I tell you what, we're going to take a look at their lineup moving into this season, and it's a little scary, especially defensively, and I don't mean scary in a bad way. So this was last season. Excellent season, great regular season, tough playoff run. You lose your top 2 scorers in the offseason. So now let's look at 22-23. We're moving into the new year. So this is our, we've got our cap-friendly numbers here off to the left, and these are updated after the Nazem Kadri deal. And I guess the big big talking point out of that is simply there's just one last player, Adam Ruzika, that needs to be signed, and he's going to fit under that number, I believe. So the Flames are sitting in a good spot right now. They have put together a really, really strong team. I tell you what, the roster shaped out nicely. So we see Jonathan Huberdeau, Elias Lindholm, and Tyler Toffoli, the projected top line. I have heard Andrew Mangiapane was going to get a lot more first-line action this season, so definitely wouldn't be surprised to see him up there with Huberdeau and Lindholm. Lindholm is right-handed, right? So that does benefit them there. Have 2 lefties and a righty on that top line. Toffoli could slip down to that second line, absolutely. Nazem Kadri, it's kind of the role he filled in Colorado, right? So I do like him slotting in that second line behind Lindholm, really supporting. He's going to be lethal on the power play. We saw that in the player card yesterday. Nazem Kadri on the power play last season was deadly. Now, if we look at the defense, I think that's going to be a strength this season. The big calling point is Oliver Shillington there on the third line is where they have him projected. I tell you what, looking at the depth, that's probably right, but that just speaks more towards the Flames' depth defensively than it does to him as a player, because he really had a breaking out season last year, played really well for them, and you're going to slot him down on the third line. Same with Zadorov. I know not a ton of fans out there, and he did get paid a little bit this season, but down third line, all right. If you can hide him down there, absolutely. Mackenzie Weegar, second line, man, his stats last season, he was on another level defensively. So I tell you what, I look at this defense and it worries me. As an Oilers fan, it does. It worries me a little bit. I know our offense is going to be lethal, but these are 6 strong defenders. Now, talking point number 3, we don't even see him listed in the lineup yet. That's because he's not signed. We just talked about it. Adam Ruzika is my player to watch. If we go back, let's take a look at last season's stats. Right there, number 18, Adam Ruzika. He only played 28 games, but he had 5 goals, 5 assists. He really had a strong impact with that team. He is one that I've got my eye on moving into this season. We don't see him slotted in here, but man, you could slot him in on that 4th line, maybe slot him in on the 3rd line, kick Backlund down to the 4th line. But Ruzika did have a nice solid impact for them. So I tell you what, I really like what the Flames have done. Trevling put together a really good team. Huberdeau, 115 points. Nazem Kadri, 87 points. We were looking at trying to cover a little over 200 points, right? Well, between those two, we're pretty close there. And then you get Mackenzie Weegar as the kicker. I like it. I like it, Calgary. I think you did some good things. But, is it enough? Is it enough? Are the Calgary Flames better without their 2 superstars, Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk? I say yes, absolutely. And one big factor that we didn't really talk about a ton, or at all really, was the fact that the players that are on the Flames right now want to be there. You can't discredit that. That is a very, very big factor. Matthew Tkachuk, Johnny Gaudreau, if they didn't want to be in Calgary, if their hearts weren't there, then they weren't going to give 110%, right? I mean, sure, they'll say the right things, they'll do the right things, but if your heart isn't in it, you're not going to give it your all. So they're in better situations for them. Hats off to them. But the Calgary Flames, I tell you what, you guys are in a good spot. I'm a little worried as an Oilers fan. I still think we'll get you, but let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Are the Calgary Flames, are they better now post Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk, or do you think they did get a little worse? I know age is a factor too. They did get older, right? But let me know down in the comments. I love talking with you guys. Be sure to check out our other videos. We've been doing a lot of fun ones. These question of the days, we'll keep doing those as well. Be sure to like the video if you enjoy the content. Subscribe if you haven't. I do appreciate it. Helps us out a ton. But until tomorrow, cheers.